Okay.
Hi, you're listening to Okay Karen,
Okay, Karen.
episode 5 with Angela and
Yay.
Betsy. Angela,
Bye.
tell us what this episode's going to be about.
People, this episode's about our dating life.
Which is kind of
We
funny because neither one of us date like at all. I mean, I'm married,
not
but
much.
really the only
Well, I would
boyfriend
hope
I
you're not
had
dating right now.
is my husband. That's the only person
Yeah.
as a boyfriend I
And
know.
I've gone on a lot of first dates, some second dates, third dates. That one time that you made me go out with someone, you were like, they at least have to go out with them 3 times, and that ended up 6 months later. I don't know how that happened. But
So neither one of us dated a lot.
no.
We just a lot of first dates, and then it doesn't go anywhere. So
Yeah.
yeah, not having anything long term and even my husband and we only dated 5 months, and then we were engaged. So my longest dating relationship was 5 months. So
Wow.
anyway, but that's why it's funny because we
Yes.
are going to talk
Is
to
it
you
funny?
about
Is it
dating.
funny though, Betsy? Is it really funny, or is
Okay,
it
so it's
sad?
ironic. It's sad.
Now, I must say, if you haven't noticed, if you're watching and not listening, we both kind of dressed up a little today for
Oh yeah.
this episode.
Well, I
I'm
put
not
earrings.
in a t-shirt. We got some earrings going on. You're in a very cute top. Do you have earrings?
I did, yeah. Little,
Oh, very nice.
yeah.
But before we start, what do we need to give some shout outs.
We do because we have like an audience now.
It's crazy. And we are so thankful for y'all
I
and
can't
so
believe it.
excited to do this. I can't either. Do you want me to start?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. I need to start with my niece, the oldest niece, Allie Grace. Now, when I say oldest, she's 20. So don't think like she's 30 something. But she listened to it. She shared it on Facebook. Her friends were listening. I don't even know some of these people. And then I think, oh my gosh, what are we doing? But anyway, it's fun. So thank you, Allie Grace. And I still need to shout out the girls at work. Leslie, oh, she brought me Whip It and what was that show with Matthew McConaughey? Dazed and Confused. She brought me those movies so I could watch them.
So
Yeah.
good.
Erin at work. Erin wants more. She wants us to drop 2 a week, and I was like, whoa.
Ain't nobody got time for
that.
No. Especially when we can't get them down to 30 minutes. They're going to be an hour. There's no way around that. So
Susan and Bill. I think Bill's the male version of Karen because he like raked us over the coals. Don't be surprised. Raked us with episode 1. And then episode 2, though, he did say it was much better. We had more of a format. So thank y'all for still listening. Brooke from work. Dr. Brown. Dr. Ramon Brown. I don't know if he wants a shout out, but he got one anyway.
He might not be listening anymore. He might have first 2 and he's done.
Yeah, he did say, I think this is more for girls. So I think he probably is done. But I will let him know we gave him a shout out on episode 5.
Okay.
And then your cousins,
My
the Bowers.
Surprising. And hopefully they're listening with their wives. They seem to enjoy it. I mean, I think they like that they can listen and make fun of us, while they're listening, because we're kind of making fun of ourselves. But you're going to hear more about them with the future episodes when we talk about travel episodes, because they travel with us quite a bit.
Right.
Yeah. And then a couple other friends, Rose, and of course Jenny and my mom. My mom's listening 4 a.m. the day it drops. She's up early listening. So yeah.
Marlene.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Woof. Should be mad.
I got you, girl.
Another super fan, Marlene, and her husband, Greg is my web toes buddy, because we both have web toes. So shout out.
He has web toes?
He does.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Just call him out.
We're in a club, That's how we do it.
I am not in that club.
Okay, let's get started.
Okay, let's get started.
All right, so today, it's not night, and we are not drinking wine because this is our first podcast.
Water. This is our first daytime, yeah. And I'll be honest, I don't know how I feel about that because I wish I were drinking wine talking to you. But we'll get it done.
To get you some mimosas to have in the morning.
Oh, great idea.
Yeah. Okay.
Always thinking.
We are going to talk about best and worst dates. So I think we should start with best. The worst are going to take longer because they're just funnier.
Okay, you go first
Okay, I'll go
because
first. So I'm gonna say actually my best and my worst are both gonna be with my husband. So so best,
really,
yes. So best, we have a debate over what was actually a date. So the first time we met online, and the first time we met in person, we both like to dance, and so we were gonna go out to a country place, and he's like, "Oh, do you want to go this Thursday?" Well, it was summertime. And I said, well, I don't think it's going to be open, which he couldn't believe. He's from a bigger area. And sure enough, it wasn't open. I said, well, next Friday, I'm going with a group of friends. So you could just come and join us then, which I say is that it's the first time we met. I say it's our first date. He says that's not our first date because that's not a date, right? Because we were
yeah.
joining.
I kind of think I have to agree with him on that because you're with a bunch of friends. You already had it planned. You're just inviting him.
It's true. So either
It's
way,
your first meeting.
but you know what? This is going to be what I consider the best because
Oh,
Sean,
this is your best?
yes, because he was in his element. He's a very good dancer. He'd had a couple
He
beers, so he
is.
was relaxed.
I thought you said he took like a bunch of shots.
No, not that night. No, because
Okay.
he was with my friends and I weren't doing shots. We were actually probably only there like 2 or 3 hours, and we got there kind of early. And so he was already there, and he was just kind of relaxed. I think like the environment, he was comfortable. So, and he's a great dancer. So
Yeah,
when I
he's a
asked
good.
him like, "Oh,
Well,
you're a
both
good
of y'all
dancer?"
are really good dancers.
Well, I follow, but thank you. So, so yeah, I was like, "Oh, are would you like to dance? You're a good dancer?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm all right." No, he was underplaying it. He's a very good dancer. So we had so much fun, and he danced with some of my friends also. And then we, sat at the table. We talked. We had a great conversation. He was just
Now they're dancing just for people. It's not like dirty dancing or club dancing. It's like two-step, boots.
Yeah, country dancing.
Yeah, country dancing, line dancing, things like that. That the song comes on and everyone knows how to do it. I don't know how to do that. I'm not a dancer like that. But Betsy and Sean's really good. He is good.
He is good. He's a great lead. So we just had a great time, and he was very confident. Like I said, it was just, it worked well for me. So he said then, he's like, I don't beat around the bush. I had a really great time tonight. I would like to see you again. And it was very refreshing, because in our dating world, it's like all this weird stuff, and you see this in the movies, but it's kind of true. Like, okay, great, thanks. And they're either like way too forceful, or then they just don't call you for a week, and you're like, do you like me? Do you not? I don't know. So,
or they text.
They text.
And you're like, why can't you just call? I mean, I understand text is 2000 whatever 20, right, but this is 15, 10. But
15, that's right. Yep.
You want to say like, get off the pot.
Yes,
just call,
exactly. And make a decision. Like, you don't, I don't know. Anyway.
My mom's going to kill me that I said that, by the way.
I know. So anyway, so it was refreshing that he just said, I'm like kind of a straight shooter with this stuff. I had a great time tonight. I would like to see you again. Are you interested in seeing me again? And I was like, wow, you put yourself on the line and said, I like you and I want to see you again. And then second of all, you just asked me directly. It wasn't like, so now you know that I'm interested and I know you're interested. And
yeah, that is really good.
And so he was interested in me enough, but he wasn't too forceful, which I know you'll get to when you talk about your worst date. But he was, so maybe he put his hand on my arm, but it wasn't creepy. It wasn't too much. It was just the right amount of physical. It was just the right amount of getting to know you. And we had already met online and, had some phone conversations and text, and we're trying to find when we could meet in person. So it was great. It was just a good night. I remember I left and I texted my sister that night and I said, cause I was meeting several different guys that I had met online at this time.
Oh,
a whole nother podcast. That was this
Karen.
That's a strategic dating plan, the SDG podcast, which is when I came up with the whole like scheme of how I was going to date.
Like, I'm going to get married. And hey,
it worked. We never meet anyone.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, this is my plan. So I had been meeting several other people. And so when I met Sean in real life, I texted my sister and I was like, he seems like he likes me. I'm interested in him. And he's a great dancer, like in all caps. Cause that's not like I have to have it when I was dating someone, but it's a huge plus. I was like,
oh, for sure.
Great.
Well, for you too. Cause that's a big part of your life.
Yeah.
Like, I should never be with someone that doesn't like sports. Could you
Yeah.
imagine that? Like college football, if you don't like that, that's
It's true. I think you actually talk to my husband more about college football than I do.
yes,
So.
I do. Well, because
so that's good. You do need someone that likes sports.
but and look, Sean like stepped up to the plate. I like you. When can we do this again? And that's why y'all were engaged within 6 months, you know, because he just kept that going. And he, yeah, props to Sean.
There you go.
And for you for following through and saying, yeah, let's do it. So when y'all went out, when did y'all go out again?
So then he said, okay, so he asked me that first. And I said, yes, I had a good time and I would like to see you again also. And he's like, okay, here's the weird thing.
Yeah, because I knew it got kind of like, he said, wow, I'm not going to see you for 3 weeks.
I'm on a night schedule right now because of his work, right? So he's like, I'm on a night schedule right now. I have tomorrow night off, and then I don't have another night off for like 8 days. And he's like, so are you free tomorrow night? Because he knew that's not like, you're not supposed to just see someone the next day, 24 hours later. And I was like, I was like, yeah, I don't have plans. It was summer. I was teaching. I was like, all right. I mean, there was no reason for me to say no, except for the kind of stupid ideas that the world tells you. Like, oh, you should wait. I'm like, why should I wait?
Because
like, we
you
hung out
just
2 hours
said,
tonight.
right.
Go
and
hang out
you
tomorrow.
just said you're not supposed to do that. Who says you're not supposed to?
Exactly.
You know, that whole, oh, you have to wait 24 hours before calling them, or, oh, you have to do this. No, you shouldn't have to do that. Because look, y'all are married.
There you go. So now, I don't know if we're the exception to the rule or if it's the rule.
But either way, it worked out.
It worked out for us. So
it did.
So he said tomorrow night, and I was like, okay. So we just had a great part, and it wasn't anything like, okay, best date wasn't anything like fireworks or like I didn't walk away.
Right.
I just met my husband or anything like that. But I want to skip ahead. So then the next day was actually the worst date. The next night.
No, I did not know that.
Yeah. So that was the lineup is like this. It's like Friday is when we went dancing. Saturday is when we had what he considers the first date because it was just the two of us. It was a traditional date. So Friday was our first meeting that I just told you about, and it went great.
That was the best.
Then Saturday was not great. And I'll tell you about that a little bit later on. Then Wednesday, we saw him, and that would be what I consider the best date, which was kind of a weird situation too, because I asked him.
It sounds like you're just bipolar. Best,
right?
Worst, best. We're going from manic to
right. Well, it was because he wasn't comfortable, and so it was just very awkward. And so then on Wednesday, I was planning on going out to see at 6 a.m, going out to the beach to see the little baby sea turtles that are, I'm not kidding you, they're so tiny. And they release them, and then everybody watches because they have to protect them from the birds, and they crawl back into the water. And then they swim for like 16 years and then come back to where they were born to do their nest later. But anyway,
they come back to where they were born?
Yeah, to the same beach. And they lay their nest like in the sand dunes.
Interesting.
So they protect them, and then they do a release date, and you find out like 24 hours in advance. The Park Service says we're releasing tomorrow morning because they're starting to open, to crack open and go. So anyway, I was going to go with my sister and her kids, and her kids are little, and she was like, I just don't know if it's worth it because they're a handful and they're really small.
Right.
They're going to get out of it because.
How many did she have at this time? 3?
3.
4. 3. 4.
So 3.
She has 5 now, people, in case. So, but this is a couple years ago.
Jenny, our biggest
superstar.
So anyway, so then I just was like, hey, I know this is like kind of weird, but we were supposed to have a date. This was a Wednesday evening. We were going to get together for dinner. And I was like, do you happen to want to go out to the beach and see sea turtles released? At 6 a.m. Now, Sean does not like to get up early at all. And I know this about him. But what I didn't know about him is that he is like an animal freak, loves nature, loves animals, like animals all the time. He can tell you so many facts about animals that I never knew. And
I'm not that type of person.
And I'm not either, but he loves animals. And so when I asked him this, he was like, yes, like I'll pick you up and drive out there. I'm like, okay. So Wednesday is I consider it the best date, which it was a
The
very
sea turtle date, not the one
because
later
it was
that
just
night.
like I saw him that
Oh,
morning and then went home. He went home and slept because he was on nights. I went home and did stuff, and then we went out to dinner out near the island again, which I'm a beach person. So that
yes,
contributed
yes.
too. Like, so we were at the beach in the morning, and then we went to a restaurant out on the island, and then we went out and walked on the beach after dinner and just walked
Oh,
and
that's
talked.
nice.
And that's perfect for
Well,
me.
then no wonder that y'all's relationship kind of did go faster if you're basically doing 2 dates in one day.
Yeah, right.
I
That was
mean,
the only time we did that. So, because
okay.
he's not going to get up at 6 a.m. all the time.
Yeah, no.
So anyway,
Why? Ugh.
so that would be what I would consider, since the first one, dancing, he does not consider a date. And so that would be the first, I would say, the best date. But it involved things that we both loved, and we were both comfortable enough with each other. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be really hard to say for anyone to say a best date was a first date, because most of the time you don't
Yeah.
know the person and you're uncomfortable. And so
And it's
how are you
like
going to
just,
enjoy yourself?
yeah, it's like you're
You know?
talking to like a detective. Well, what about this? It's just a bunch of
Right.
questions. And then
And,
you try to kind of insert your personality, but they really
right.
don't know
And
you.
you
So
don't
they
know
don't know how
they
sarcastic
just
you
right,
are.
they don't know the sense of humor and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. And so I think that we had, from seeing each other Friday and then Saturday, which was the worst, and then by Wednesday evening we're walking on the beach and we're talking, and it just felt really comfortable. And of course it's the beach,
Mm-hmm.
which I love,
Would you like the beach?
and so it's
Well,
just a
we're
really,
going to have to get
really
back to
good
that
date.
Saturday one. I'm anxious
Oh, we
to.
will. So that's my best date, and sorry that
Your
it's all
best ain't.
convoluted with
Well, I'm
the first
glad. It sounds
meeting, but
like you had
also the actual date on Wednesday, I would say. So
it sound and it worked out well for you, you
it
know.
did. It did. Okay, so
Now,
Angela, what about you?
mine, it's tough. It's really tough. I'd have to say April 25th. It's, it's not too hot, it's not too cold. All you need is a light jacket.
This is your perfect date?
No.
I love it. I love it.
So, no one's going to get that reference, by
Yeah,
the
they
way.
are. It's Miss Congeniality.
My mom's going to be like, when did you go on a date on April 25th? What were you in?
It's the perfect date.
Yeah, it is the perfect date, people. That's not my date, obviously. When we said we're going to do perfect date, I mean, perfect, best and worst date, I immediately know my worst. But best took
Okay,
me some
so
time.
best, you don't have a best right now, which is fine.
I
think the
mean,
best date
not that I don't have a best. I've enjoyed going out with people because I don't want to hurt any feelings. This one guy, and I'm not going to name names, but this one guy like brought me flowers. He brought me flowers
Oh,
every
yeah, I
time he
remember
went out.
that. That was so
And
sweet.
I love flowers. So I know some people are like, flowers. But for me, my grandfather owned a flower shop. My dad and my dad, anytime there was an anniversary or anything, my dad always gave my mom flowers. So that is you know how they say like love languages? I like that.
Well, so here's the thing. I don't think that guys in general understand how much girls like flowers. And I do meet girls every once in a while like, I don't really care about flowers.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a thought. Like, even if you brought a
Right.
single flower, even if you brought, a little thing of candy, anything that's like, I thought about you before I
Yeah.
showed up tonight. That's really what it means, And I tell Sean all the time how much I love flowers, and I don't think he gets it. I'm like, what can I equate this to you for? I like, like
without just saying, give me some flowers on a
oh
special
yeah,
occasion or just whenever. Yeah.
right. I'm like, it
But
doesn't.
this guy,
It's just
yeah,
even if it's the
every
$5
time we went
bunch
out,
at the grocery
right.
store, like it's just sweet. It's just a very sweet thing to do.
But every time we went out, he brought me flowers, and it was so nice. It really was. And I will say, he was coming one day. So in where I live, it's my family all lives pretty much on the street. Yeah. My mom, she's across diagonal from me. My aunt's down the street, cousins, nieces, they're all down the street. So my niece called me and she was like, "Hey, Angela, there's a guy coming up to your front door with flowers." And I was like, okay, because I mean, I know I'm about to go on a date.
So
I don't
she's like,
broadcast it.
why don't I know about this?
She said, who is that? And I was like, whoa, at this time you're 10. Back off, sister. Like,
Oh,
so
that's
that was
funny.
probably, though, the date itself obviously didn't work out, or
The relationship.
Yes. He's a very nice guy. I wish him the best. There's a girl out there. I don't think it's me. But that's gonna be my best date.
Okay, so now let's talk about worst dates. Do you want to start worst dates, or do you want me to?
I just don't know if I could do worst date right now.
You want
I
me to
think
go
you
first?
I think
Okay.
you should go. I still am a little traumatized, and mine was 2 years ago,
Okay,
but it was
so
bad.
I'm going to go ahead and share, because Sean and I shared
So
the story quite.
your worst date is Sean.
It was 24 hours after the dancing that went so great when I met Sean.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next day we go out to eat. And so we're going to go out to eat. And we go to this Thai food place downtown. I'd never been there. And Sean had only lived in the area like a month. So I don't think he had been there either. He just looked up like where has good reviews. And so we went down there. We were the only people in the restaurant. And I think because it was a weekend and it's downtown, but it was also just a kind of odd experience.
That's awkward.
In the restaurant. So
yeah,
because they didn't have any music playing. They had like, it was just an odd, like they had rotating fans on, maybe because it was July and it was hot, but like we weren't hot. I don't know. So it was kind of like, what is this place?
Wait.
The food was great, but the conversation felt very forced. Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we already knew each other a little bit because we had met online and like had talked a few times. We had a great time dancing. Sean was not as comfortable because, you know, he wasn't in his element of dancing. He didn't already have a beer. So it wasn't like he was like, you know, take the nerves off a little bit. And so he was kind of like, you know, he was just.
Now, can I ask you a question?
What?
Did you order alcohol at this date?
No, I didn't, which here's the next thing. It was at the time when Corpus Christi was having a water problem. That year, 4 times throughout the year, they had water.
Oh, boil your water.
Where you had to boil your water 4 times. The
Which
last
is crazy because it's a kind of a big city.
Yeah. The last time it was 2 weeks long, and you couldn't even boil your water. You couldn't even boil it because it was some chemical problem that they had. And so you were supposed to use bottled water for everything. They told you don't wash your hands in it, don't wash your clothes or your dishes. So the schools had to.
How did you take a shower?
That's the thing. They were just like, you just shouldn't. Like, it was 14 days. So pretty much people.
And it's like hot down there.
Yes. So anyway, well, luckily that happened like right around Christmas. So like a week of it, schools had to be canceled for a week. And then
it's still not like it's not hot. It's instead of it being 115, it was probably 89
or 50. So anyway, we were in the middle of a water boil. So I think Sean may have had a drink. I don't remember. I think he just got a bottle of water. I think he did also. I don't remember what we drank. But we ate our food and it was good. And the conversation was okay. It just was like, when you answer things and ask each other questions, like you were saying, first date stuff, you're kind of like interviewing, you're not intentional, but you also can't, like, people don't put their personality out and their sense of humor out as much in the beginning because you're kind of getting a feel for it, you know? And like Sean said, I didn't know if I was going to say something that offends you because Sean sometimes likes to say things that offend people.
Like just for that shock value.
Yes.
Too,
right. But if you were like, if you want to actually see this girl again, then how much am I going to like joke around about or how much am I going to share, you know? And so it was just kind of like, oh, it's okay. So we rode together. He picked me up. And he's like, we had been talking about some movies when we were at dinner. And
which, hold on, that's something right there that y'all rode together because there's several where I was like, no, I'll meet you.
Which is understandable. I did, like I said, the night before was great. And I did trust him because I had been talking to him for a while. So I was like, okay. So we rode together. So we left. And he's like, well, do you have plans or do you know, like he's staying up all night because he's on night. So he's like, would you be out for a movie? And it was kind of late, but I was like, yeah, we could go. And he was like, okay. So he lived there were 3 guys that lived together, 2 other guys with him.
You went back to his house and watched a movie?
Mm-hmm. I know, right? So
If y'all don't know Betsy, that's all I gotta say.
As Angela likes to say, it ended well for me.
Right. But
so anyway, so we get in the car, and it was fine. It was okay. If that was, I still would have, if that was the first time I met him, I still would have said yes to another date. So it wasn't awful. It was just kind of like that awkward first date stuff,
Right.
And so we go back to his house, and he's telling me, because he was telling me about the Captain America movies. Actually, it might have been Avengers. I don't know. And he's probably going to be mad that I didn't.
Oh, he's going to be so mad.
They all blend together.
Wait. Is he even listening?
No, I don't think he's listening to any of it. I did tell him that we have a podcast. I don't think he's listening.
Did you tell him we have some followers?
No, I haven't talked to him about it. So anyway, so we go back to his house, and they have in their house, which of course I'd never been to, and he's only lived there like 2 or 3 weeks with these guys because he just moved here for his job. So he has a sectional couch and like a big TV in the living room. Well, we walk in, and he opens the door, and I walk in first, and there is a like half bathroom off of the kitchen, dining room, living room open area. And in that half bathroom is who I now know as his roommate at the time, laying on the floor by the toilet in only his boxers, getting sick in the toilet in the like common area bathroom.
So obviously the guys didn't even have heads up, like, hey, I may bring her back.
No,
it was
I
just for the moment. He just said,
for the moment. But the other thing is, I don't think he would have been with it enough, even if Sean had said like, "Oh, we're gonna watch a movie in the living room." So to this guy, so he, so
did Sean just close the door?
Well, I walked in first because he opened the door for me, and I walked in, and then he comes in behind me, the front door of the house, and I'm like, and I just like stand there. And I just stand there because I'm like,
sometimes there's no words. You just, make
like
noises.
Like his face is like the state of mind, like what is happening? So he's like, stay here. And so he like walks over, and he's talking to him. And it turns out that, and he did, so Sean told me when we were driving there, he's like, do we need to stop and get anything? Because we literally have, I don't even think we have bottled water in our house. We have beer and Diet Coke. And I'm like,
oh, Diet Coke is your drink of choice.
Wait, why did you just say that? And he's like, what? And I said, Diet Coke. And he's like, I drink Diet Coke. And I was like, oh, what? I'm so excited.
Yeah, if y'all don't know Betsy, she has to limit herself. Okay, I've had a Diet Coke today. I can't have another one.
I can have one in the morning, one in the afternoon.
Yes.
I got to cut myself off.
Yes.
So anyway, so I was like, oh yeah, that's great. I'll drink Diet Coke. I'm like, I like Diet Coke too. So inside I'm like, because there's not as many guys that drink Diet Coke. So I was like, yeah. So anyway, we go back, and I'm going to have a Diet Coke. So we walk in, this guy's on the floor. Sean goes over to talk to him. Turns out, and to this day, his roommate's like, I wasn't drunk. He was out playing volleyball all day in the sun, and he didn't drink anything. Like he
makes me think of the Top Gun scene, but go ahead.
So he's like, he's like, I didn't have water with me, and I just didn't drink. And so he said,
he got overheated.
Hydrated. I don't really know. I don't know if it was a combination of no water and alcohol or whatever. It doesn't matter for this story. The point is, he asked Sean, like, dude, can you like go like run to the 7-Eleven and get me some like Gatorade or something? Like I need something.
Really? Where was the other roommate?
Not there. He wasn't on there. So so Sean's like, yes.
I have a date here.
What's he supposed to say? I mean, like, the guy's not in any condition to go get anything for himself.
Can you wait for 2.5 hours? Because we're about to watch a movie.
So I've got something going on here. Sorry.
Right.
So anyway, and they could have boiled water, but they're guys, they're single guys. They didn't boil water, and most people didn't boil water. They just got bottled water, right?
Right.
And so Sean's like, he comes over to me. He's like, I need to go get him some. He's like, I don't really want to do this right now, but I feel like I need to go get him go to the gas station real quick and get him some Gatorade and some water. And I was like, I'm going with you. And he was like, yeah, you're not staying here.
Right. Good.
Okay. So
Because that would have been so awkward.
yeah. So
On
then we
a
get
whole
back.
nother level.
Yeah, and this guy is kind of like when we get back, he's kind of camped out in the living room. And so Sean's kind of like helping him. You know, he's got like he's out of it, you know, because he was dehydrated. So Sean's helping him out a little bit, and Sean's like, okay, this is gonna be here we go. Like he's like, like I have a TV in my room. Like I don't know how you feel about this. Like the first time we met, and so we go. I'm like, well, let's see. So we go in his room, and here's the thing about his room. He had 9 full-size movie posters framed on the walls. So it was like
In one room?
In one room in his bedroom. And now Sean loves movies. Sean loves
He does. He does.
So, but it was just so I was like, because
it was overwhelming.
Kind of a younger thing, you know what I mean?
Right. And they're big. If
huge.
Our younger audience doesn't know what a movie poster is, it's it's not small. They're big. Yeah. And if they're framed, that makes it even a little bit bigger.
Yeah. So Sean says, yeah, so this is what you get if you date a 27-year-old, and just like kind of.
And how old were you? Tell people how old you were.
And he was 27.
Okay.
So he is 8 years younger than me, and he just
puts it out there.
Like he just puts it out there, like we might as well just joke about it, right? Like he's like, this is what you get if you date a 27-year-old.
That's right.
Posters, watching a movie in my bedroom, like we're in high school or something. And so I just laughed, and it was I would say for Sean and I wanted to bring it up because it is funny because we joke around about
it. But I must say, like, good job for not saying this was so bad. No, we don't need to do anything else.
Well,
good job. Because I would have said no.
Here's what I want to say. So in the midst of this, and this is for you, Angela, because you are still in the dating world. I'm not. I mean, you date your spouse, but you know what I mean. It's not the same. So they say you should always date your spouse. Basically, you should treat them like you do.
Yeah. I've heard it. I'm trying to get to the spouse part.
This is what I want you to know, Angela. When you do have a worse date, don't look at what happened, but look at how they responded to it. So I could see a lot about Sean. Like he joked about things like that. Like, look, I have movie posters. Haha. Like, you know what I mean? and you know, I don't have any water in the house. And my roommate is laying in his boxers when we walk in the house. His roommate that he really didn't even know that well. He met him like 3 weeks before.
Oh, wow.
So the way he responded was like, I need to get him some stuff. I'm sorry. Like, can you come on?
Yeah.
So he didn't get upset. He didn't get angry. He didn't like, it was just a different, you know what I mean? So I was like, okay, if it's a bad situation and the first date doesn't go the way that he wanted it to go, he just kind of rolled with it and was like, okay, you know, and still was like, I don't know. So I was like, you know, he endured the awkwardness of the first date conversation, fine, where you're just like giving each other questions and don't really know each other's personalities yet. And yeah, so I was like, okay, so that's a good way to look at it, Angela. If you're having a bad date, if things aren't going bad date because things aren't going as planned or come up, how are they handling it? That's different than bad date because their personality is
not working. Which kind of goes into mine.
So Angela, you take it away.
So I started talking to this guy on I think it was Match, which I don't do any of that. Betsy did really well with that. I know some other friends that have done really well with it, but for me, it's not for me. I just don't like it. I've tried it several different times, years apart. It's not my thing. So, but I did it about 2 years ago and started talking to this guy, and he was from Diamond Head, which is a city not too far from me. Because I live in a smaller area, I had to put like 60 miles out to, which includes New Orleans and Mobile, which are the big cities for me. But this guy was local, so nice. And we decided, let's meet up for lunch at a very fancy restaurant on the coast. Well, not fancy, but popular. Mary Mahoney's. And Mary Mahoney's is kind of fancy. Yeah. And so it was actually the Saturday before Easter. So the next day is Easter. and I get dressed up and I meet him there, and I get there and I'm like, okay, is there a guy here? Because he's not going to give the people his name. And they were like, no one's here. So I'm like, all right. So I text him and he kind of comes up from behind me. They have a gift shop, a really fancy gift shop, a guy's clothing. And he is wearing a purple velvet jacket, which
You didn't tell me that.
I didn't.
No,
I'm
that's
sorry.
hilarious. All right, go ahead. Purple velvet jacket.
Yeah. And, you know,
He's
I
a
didn't.
confident person, you know right away.
Oh, yeah. So we go sit down. Now, if you don't know me, and again, if you don't know me, why are you listening to us? But whatever.
Maybe
I
we're just
like
not
to-
entertaining. Go ahead.
I like to talk.
Yeah.
I'm a talker.
Mhm.
I'll listen to you. I'll interject. I think that's how it goes, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah. I think in the whole date, I talked maybe 10 minutes. The whole date.
Wow.
Yes. This was his stage. And I was just, you know, I was just lucky to be there.
Jacket.
Yeah.
What season
So
was this?
it was right before Easter. So technically
like
he
summer.
could have gotten away with the velvet
Oh.
because we hadn't made it to, you know, Easter. You shouldn't. But still, it's in South Mississippi.
Yeah.
And then he went on and on about a belt, about how he was going to purchase a belt from that fancy guy store. But, you know, who wants to pay $100 for a belt? And I'm thinking, I don't care. I don't care about a belt. So there was very little that I added to the conversation.
Okay.
The whole meal. And like you said, treating someone, the waiter would come by and they were very attentive to us because it's that type of restaurant.
Mhm.
And he would kind of make jokes, but I felt kind of belittling them. And I was like, that's not.
It's such a turnoff, right?
Yes,
Like,
very much so.
Guys think that women would like, I mean, I think the guys that are doing that aren't really thinking like what their date is thinking about this. They're just acting that way. Because that's not, and I have heard people say, pay attention to how he treats the people around you more than he treats you. Because he's going to treat you well because you're on a date. But pay attention to how he's treating the other people. And it's kind of like, no. So,
and I remember where we sat, I used to be in a group of ladies and we owned some property in Biloxi, and you could see where property that we owned. And I was kind of explaining it to him and he just cut me off and went back to his stuff. And I thought, wow, you know, like nothing. I mean, he knew nothing. I couldn't even introduce myself to him basically.
Yeah.
So it was awkward. And I did order one glass of wine and he was like, oh. And I was like, no, I mean, I'll pay for my whole meal and my glass of wine. It was so weird. So
awkward, like at every stage, it seems.
Every stage. And it's the type of meal that you are looking down and you're like, okay, appetizer's done. Okay, we're on them. Okay, this is done. You know, where you're just thinking.
Could have met for fast food and got this over with.
Yeah. So, but it's not. I'm not even to the worst part.
I know.
So we are wrapping up our lunch. You could tell we're running out of food, and that took forever, and or in my mind, forever. And then he makes a comment like, "So, what are you doing tomorrow?" Or what are you doing later tonight? And it's lunch. So I was like, oh, I think I'm going to just take it easy tonight, get prepared for tomorrow. And he's like, what's tomorrow? Now, I don't need you to know everything, but I need you to know some big things. I need you to know when Christmas is. I need you to know when Easter is. I need you to know I just think that's basic.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and I said, tomorrow's Easter, which is a big deal for me.
Right.
And he said, oh, so what you doing tonight? And I was like, what?
Here's the thing. So even if you are not Christian, most people keep up with the calendar and what's happening in their world around them.
Because
even if
Easter
you don't celebrate
changes.
it, but
Right.
yeah, but even if you don't celebrate it, people are aware this is a holiday weekend.
Right. Yeah. Or, Thanksgiving is tomorrow. People, you should know not just Christian but just
well, and then when you
just like you said, keep up.
yeah, and when you said, okay, well, tomorrow's Easter, and then for him to come back and say, so what are you doing tonight? Like,
right. And then he got really awkward with, oh, I thought we could hang out at your place tonight. Whoa. Hold on. You have let me talk all of 5 minutes and you want to hang out at my place? First of all, how do you even know if I have a place? Because you haven't let me talk about my place.
Because you're like, well, that'll be weird because I live with my mom. What do you think?
Which I didn't. I have my own house.
You had your own house. But he doesn't know that.
He knows nothing about me. So I was like, no.
Well, do you think that guys, especially like this, like first date you met online, do you think that they just throw stuff out to see what they can get away with? Like, oh, some girls will say yes and some will say no. I'm just going to try it.
Okay. Maybe for the shock value, but when we go through the date, I don't think for this guy, because when we get up to leave, and I'm dressed nice. It's a nice restaurant.
Yeah.
Do you remember what he said when we got up to leave?
No.
Oh, it's going to be hard keeping my hands off of you.
What?
Hello?
Like
you just met me.
You just met me, and we're here at a lunch date at a restaurant.
Yes. Way too much. And I was like,
you're like, no, it's not, because I'm going to be running away from you.
Right. So as we're walking out, he paid for it. I always offer, I'll pay for my meal. I don't mind that. But he did pay for it, which was nice. And I was like, I need to step in and use the restroom. The way we were walking out, and you walk the restaurant, you kind of walk through, and then the restroom, and then you walk out. And how his hands were, I was like, while I'm in the restroom, there's another lady and I'm talking to her, chit-chatting, because, it's the South, you talk to everyone. But in the back of my mind, I was thinking to myself, he's going to come in here. This guy might come in here. And I remember,
oh my gosh.
Yes, I was so kind of frantic. Like
really
what am I going to
do? You out with this stuff.
Yeah, 100%. This was not a shock value.
Because I have to say here that Angela doesn't get creeped out super easily.
No.
Well, like we told the story in New Orleans. These guys are like all in their business, looking at her feet, sitting on her lap, and Angela's just drinking her wine, taking pictures.
There was one that was remember the one that looked at my shirt?
Yeah.
That old man.
Someone who's like,
it doesn't, which wasn't right, but still, that didn't creep me out.
Yeah.
But
so
this
must
I remember
because
hurry. No, yeah. I was hurrying, washing my hands, hoping maybe I was talking to the lady, hoping she would stay in there a little bit longer, because it was a Yeah. So if you can't see, my hair was down for the date because I think it's whatever. And as we're walking out, I kid you not, is like this. In my hair, he is rubbing his hands, and my hair is looking like this with half of my face. And I'm thinking,
okay, for our listening audience, he was rubbing his hands through her hair.
All through my hair. I just don't know how I'm going to keep my hands off of you. And he stops like this, and I'm thinking, okay, this cannot be attractive. Half of my hair in my face. You did this. Now, first of all, I know this isn't attractive. Second of all, my hair is all a tangled mess.
Good thing you didn't try that with me, because he would have he would have not been able to get his hands out.
Would have gotten stuck.
Exactly.
Y'all would have needed scissors.
Yeah, I'm always like, you can't run your hands through my hair. You cannot run your fingers through my hair. It's not going to work.
He shouldn't have run his hands through my hair.
No, he shouldn't have.
It was
weird.
It was so awkward and weird. And I am backing away.
Yeah.
And as I'm backing away, he's coming in like, are we going to kiss? And I'm like, I hope not. So awkward. I'm going to tell you, I left that date. I immediately called you.
Yep.
I don't think you answered, because I called Lisa, another good friend, and And I left there and went to Lisa's house thinking if he followed me, hey, he's at Lisa's house, not my house.
Yes.
Now, there's no way
That's
he's
smart.
following me the way I drive. No way.
That's
But
true, though. You should never leave and have to think, I need to go to someone else's house so he doesn't know where I live.
Oh, yeah. And then I went and had a big glass of wine at Lisa's house. It was, the feeling I had at that date was, it was more than awkward. It was, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure it also turns you off to like, okay, I'm not going to date anymore. I'm not going to meet anyone online.
Oh, 100%.
Because, you know,
100%.
I met relatively good people before I met Sean. They were decent. You know, I didn't have any experiences like that. But if I would have been like, forget it. I'm
see,
sorry.
there was another guy too that I actually didn't even make it on a date with him. He was online and he would send stuff like, oh, wow, look how foggy it is. And a picture of the fog, but his big Jeep is right in the way. I'm thinking to myself, can't see the fog over your Jeep. And he would do that on different things. Look how beautiful the water looks today. But his huge, big ass boat is in the way. You know, again, that doesn't, some guys might be like, oh, I'm going to catch the girl this way.
Not like we don't know what they're doing. Like,
and the unfortunate thing about it, I think there are girls that are like, oh, he has a Jeep, he has a boat, he has this. Let me go out with him. That's not.
I didn't have any
for
like
me.
That,
that's more of a turn off.
There were people that I talked to online and never made it to meet in person, and never. One guy was long distance, and do you remember him? He was really intense.
Is that the guy that said he could never date someone with a tattoo?
Oh, and not only that, he asked me the first time I talked to him if I was a virgin, and I was like,
oh!
I don't think that's something that
he didn't.
Yeah. And then I was like, I'm not really interested in talking to you anymore. You know what I mean?
No.
But
the first date?
The first time I talked to him
like, let me ask you. Did he ask you like, oh, how many siblings do you have?
Oh, yeah,
what do you do? Are you a virgin?
Like 30 minutes.
I mean, how did that's not a normal question that pops in.
So here's the thing. We talked for like 30 minutes and he said, you know, we had already emailed a couple times on this, and it was a Catholic dating site. Fine, whatever. And then, but that doesn't give you a right to like jump into it. So anyway,
no.
We went through all the small things like your siblings and what you do and everything. And we were talking on the phone, and about probably 20 or 30 minutes of the conversation, he asked like, well, what do you think about like church teachings? And what do you think about like, you know, marriage and different things like this? And it was fine. We were discussing, and he's like, well, have you, you know, do you agree with what the church says about like only, you know, waiting until you're married to have sex? And I was like, yeah, I agree with that church teaching, but I was kind of like, this isn't going somewhere it should be going. You know what I mean? Like I could see the train wreck about to happen.
The flags are popping up.
Well, have you always like agreed with that? And have you lived that? Like he had a way of saying it. I'm like, also, this is not the first person that asked this to.
No.
He did this to other girls and like asked them in this weird way. And so I was like, yeah. So we finished that conversation. We talked maybe like 10 or 15 minutes more. I got off the phone. And then he emailed me a few times and we want to talk again. I was like, I could just tell this guy is just like, no. So then the next time we talked, he was like, he asked about, you know, the website says, cause you can put, if you have 0 to 2 tattoos or 3 or more tattoos or none or something. Cause they do the height and all this different stuff.
Yeah.
And I put 0 to 2 cause I have 1 tattoo. And he's like,
a very tasteful tattoo.
You. So he said,
I mean, although I don't have problems with tattoos, but whatever. I like yours.
So he was like, oh, I see that you put, you know, whatever. And and I said, yeah, you know, I have 1 tattoo. He's like, I assume that you got this when you were like just turned 18 and wish you wouldn't have gotten it. And I said, no, that's a complete incorrect assumption. I got it when I was 30 and I don't regret it at all. I was like, I love it. And he was like, well, do you really think you should, you know, mark your body? And I was like, yeah, I don't see anything wrong. Like, I don't see anything contradictory in what I believe in my faith and having this tattoo.
And it's a tattoo actually of your faith.
Yeah. And this is what, oh my gosh. He said, well, do you believe in the traditional roles of marriage? And I said, what do you
Oh dear.
what do you mean by that?
Oh,
That could
dear.
be, I mean, that could be
Oh,
very different, like I
oh
believe in
my
marriage.
gosh.
But when you say it like that, that's like,
Like, are you waiting on him hand and foot?
exactly. I don't know what you mean by that. And so he said, and I said, well, what do you mean by that? And he's like, well, I don't even remember what he said. But then he said, well, let me ask you this. When you got the tattoo, did you think what your future husband would think about it, or if he would be opposed to tattoos? Sorry about that. Technical difficulty. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Okay. It was my problem. My fault.
yeah. So at this point, when he says this about, did you think about it? I'm like, okay, this is not going anywhere good. I was like,
No.
no, I didn't think about it at all. And he's like, well, if you got married and your husband wanted you to get it removed,
No.
would you get it removed? And I was like, I need to go.
Yes. This
like,
isn't. Now, can I ask you a question?
yes.
By any chance, do you know if he's married?
I don't know. I could look
Not that I'm interested,
yes,
but sometimes I look at people and I'm like, huh.
Well,
and yet you are married and I am not.
He also told me, because I pretty much was like, I don't think we need to talk anymore, or we need to meet in person. Because I mean, I know enough from talking to you on the phone that I don't need to meet you in person.
That's not going to work.
And it was long distance. So I was like, there's no way. I mean, it would take a lot of effort. And I already know that this isn't going to work out because of what you've been talking to me about, and you should not have been. So at that point, he's like, well, I do want to tell you for your sake that I think the reason that you haven't found someone yet is because you have not made it.
I don't know if I could hear this.
You have not made it a priority in your life, and you've been doing other things and focusing on other things instead of putting your energy into finding a spouse. And at that point, I was like, I had just gotten back from being in Central America for 3.5 years volunteer teaching. Like, sure, I didn't go down there to find a husband, but also I wanted to say, are you just devaluing all of the work I just did teaching?
Yeah, like there's not enough middle fingers that you own to throw at them.
And I was just like, you know what? Screw you, because sorry that I'm open to having a life and being active while I'm single. Like, yeah, I want to get married, but that isn't my entire being is focused on being a spouse. I have to do things and do good and enjoy my life and have friends and family while I'm still
go on trips.
That puts tons of pressure on guys when I'm dating them. Oh, I've been doing nothing and I've been waiting to meet you. Are you ready to get married? I've been waiting for 35 years and now I met you and I haven't been doing anything and I have no life and no personality and nothing and friends.
I've done nothing in my life. Yeah.
Exactly.
It is nice that I'm not married yet, and but I still feel like I have lived life. Yes, and I really enjoy my life. I do wish I would meet someone and get married, but it might happen and it might not. I've come to that conclusion too.
You're sure as hell gonna do fun stuff in the meantime and live.
I'm not just gonna sit here and wait. Now, I do want to say, just interject. I know we're kind of running out of time and we're going to start wrapping it up. I get a lot of people that say, Angela, why aren't you dating?
Yes.
Did you got that too? And my first response in my mind is, what? Shut up. Really.
What do people expect you to say?
Yeah.
Like, why are
it's not like, oh yeah, I'm getting asked out all the time. Yeah. I just say no. Yeah, that's not it. Yeah. And then they follow that up with, well, what are you into? A guy that has a job. Right now, that's what I'm into.
Yes. Men that are interested in me that ask me out on dates. I'm going to say yes, and I will go out with them and give them a chance. Like,
now, you know me, that I am kind of picky. And I think I might be too picky some instances.
Well, first of all, I think we're getting into a whole nother podcast episode.
Topic, yeah. Okay. Which I don't want to talk about that right now either.
No, we're not going to get into that. But I will say one final note is that this will lead into our other episode, which won't be the next episode because we need to talk about something else.
We need to go somewhere else.
Episode. That when you get to a certain age and you're in your career, you don't meet new people as often. So like,
No.
you're
Yeah,
around
because you're
family,
working.
your friends are mostly married, you're working with the same people. For me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm teaching and there's like 2 men that work at the school. Like there's not a lot of men around.
Yeah.
And so you kind of, your circles get smaller, I feel like, when you get older, the people that you see, and then to see who's single in those circles, it's hard, which is why
Right.
people have gone to online dating, because you don't meet people as easily.
Yeah, but
Especially
it's
now.
not for me.
Yeah.
I'm just not doing the online dating.
Yeah.
Sorry that.
Okay, so we'll say that
So,
for next episode. We
yeah,
hope you guys have
well,
enjoyed this
an
one.
episode. We
Yeah,
do
not
appreciate
the next.
y'all. Yeah, if y'all have if y'all want to hear us talk about something, let us know. Please let us know. A lot of y'all have said, "Why don't you phone a friend?" Because I'm using my phone. I don't know how to do this. I mean, the technical difficulty was because of me and my phone. So right now we're not at phone a friend, people. We're just still working everything out.
Have a guest. Definitely for the next travel one, I think we should have a guest, because we've traveled with so many people. So
yeah, I don't know how we're going to do that though. I'm going to let you figure that out.
I'll figure that out. So our next episode, we already know, episode 6. Soon is going to be about concerts. The concerts we want to see. Just kind of telling the story of the concerts and what our take is. Best ones. I don't think we'll say worst ones, because it's so fun. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, I don't know if I've been to a worst concert. No, although I have heard some horror stories of artists where people were like, it was so bad. Right. But I haven't been to a worse one.
Okay. Well, thanks for listening.
All right. Thank y'all. We appreciate y'all.
Bye.
God bless.